Okay, let's pause the music, the intro music. It is 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Jeff Evenson. I'm a board certified doctor of holistic health. I do not practice medicine. I am not a medical doctor. I do not practice medicine. I do not treat, diagnose, or cure. I simply work with people naturally getting their health back without drugs or surgery, through functional nutrition, health coaching, and quantum nutrition testing. And it is a phenomenal line of work that I'm in. I have a lot of passion for the work that I do because I love it when I can see the lights come back on in people that I'm working with. Okay. Because when you don't feel well, your whole energy field, your energy, your attitude, everything is subdued. And I love watching that energy just come back on and light up the face of the people that I'm working with, because it tells me that things are working. And I love it when they come back and go, oh, didn't expect this so soon, that kind of stuff. So it's a process. It takes time, and it'll feed into the show today. I think I have a good topic lined up. So the week has been good. I hope if you don't follow me on Facebook, I hope you do. On my personal profile, the business profile is out there, of course, but follow me on my personal profile, Jeff Evenson, on Facebook. You'll know it's the right image because it's got a picture of me in the gym. But I drip content out on Facebook on my on my personal profile every single day. Okay, because that's how the algorithms work best with Facebook. So there's content that gets dripped out every day, and the content I've got it laid out now where it will help feed into the topic of the week for the morning coffee with Doc Jeff. Okay, let's see. Last week I made the faux pas of not checking my microphone. I did today, so good job. I had to give myself the claps there. Good job for Jeff making sure the technology is working and supporting. But I've got all these other sound effects here that I can use to help kick off the show. Like, okay, let's dive into the topic. Okay, some of these are okay, a little over the top. But grab your coffee. Let's dive in. The weather here, the weather here in Minnesota, we've got snow. It snowed a little bit last night again. I think they project more snow, of course, this week. But what I like about this time of year is every single day gets a little bit longer in terms of daylight as we move toward through the winter months toward spring and summer. I can't wait for spring and summer um, to get outside and whatnot. Now, I had a discussion with a client this week. He he admitted that he was going to be going back into the gym, and it raised the reminder to me, because he said he's motivated. He wants to get back in the gym. I really appreciated his comment to me because he said, "Hey, I saw you. You look really fit," and that motivated him. And that's what I want to have happen. I want to be a model. I don't know. I won't say I'm a perfect model by any stretch of imagination, but I want to model good health for people so they can see what it looks like. And it got his attention. He goes, "I'm really motivated to do this," and I wanted to remind him that, you know what, we can be motivated all day long. We can be motivated to do the exercise, the strength training, the cardio training. We can be motivated to eat the foods that we know our body is going to be nourished with and healed with. We can have all that motivation lined up, but all of that motivation doesn't mean shit if you don't have the discipline to execute on that motivation. Motivation will just sit there until you take action. It's almost like, what Jesus says in the Bible. You can, why isn't this happening? And I think it's set up where, hey, you can pray all day long, but if you don't take action, stuff isn't going to just magically appear for you. Life doesn't work that way. And it's the same way with motivation. Be motivated, yes. Work that through. Noodle it through your brain. However, it's going to power you up. But then take that next step, the discipline to execute into it. Okay? You have to have the discipline. So that was just an aside before we dive into the show. So let's go. Today is episode 82. Can you believe that? I've been talking on this is 82 weekends, 82 Saturday mornings. There have been a couple Sunday mornings where I had to move it out because of travel and all that kind of stuff. But Saturday mornings, 82. And so as I get started into the show, I want to open up the comments. If you're on a platform that allows you to comment, say hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It's really fun to kind of see where this goes. Even if you watch it on the replay, comment back in there where you're watching from so we can see. Everybody can see. It's kind of pretty cool. So there's a moment I see over and over again with people who come to work with me. Okay. They're doing everything right. All right. They've cleaned up their food. They've added the supplements. They've tried detoxes, cleanses, resets, protocols, and yet their body isn't responding the way they were promised it would. Okay. And what I'm talking about are people before they come work with me. Okay. I don't make promises that the body is going to do a certain thing. But when you follow the marketing hype out there for the detox programs and the cleanses and the resets, those marketing hypes, they make wild promises that, oh, this is going to, bring you right back to the top and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes those promises are too good to be true. Okay. I've seen it enough over the years. I've been practicing over 16 years now. And those promises are sometimes, they set you up for failure. You feel like, oh shit, what am I doing wrong? Okay. Because their body isn't responding the way they were promised it would. And sometimes they feel worse. Sometimes they stall. Sometimes they burn out entirely and quietly stop trying. How many times have you talked to your coworkers and stuff? Hey, how's your workout program going? Or how's your new diet going? And they'll make a comment, yeah, I quit that like a week ago. Okay. Because things weren't working out the way they were hoping. And so what they usually tell me is this: I don't understand. I really want to heal. And what I've learned after years of working with the body is this: wanting to heal is not the same thing as being ready to heal. Because the body doesn't move on motivation, it moves on safety. And I've watched nervous systems that were so used to survival that even gentle support felt like a threat. I was in that situation too. Just recently, this last fall, my nervous system was on a freaking tripwire. Okay. Now, it's not because the support was wrong, but because the timing was. And here's the part most people never hear. Your body saying not yet is not resistance, it's intelligence. So today I want to talk about regulation and readiness, not detox, not protocols, not what to take next, but how the body decides when it's ready to change. Because until that moment arrives, pushing harder doesn't help. It only teaches the body um, that it's not safe. So why isn't readiness talked about? It's rarely talked about, I think, um, because how many times, and I've said it a number of times, you will know when you're ready. Okay, you will know when you're ready. That's how my body talks to me. It will tell me, okay, I'm ready for this. Boom, and off we go. Okay, but after working with hundreds of people over the years, I've noticed something interesting. Most people don't come to me asking if their body is ready. They come asking for what to take, what to remove, or what protocol will finally fix this. And I understand that instinct. When you've been tired, inflamed, foggy, or stuck long enough, you want action. You want movement. You want relief. But here's the truth that most people haven't been told. The body doesn't heal because you want it to. The body heals when it feels safe enough to change. And readiness is rarely talked about because it doesn't sell well. You can't put readiness in a bottle. You can't market it as a 14-day reset. You can't measure it neatly on a lab panel. But clinically, readiness is everything. I've seen people with perfect protocols fall apart. And I've seen people with very simple support finally begin to heal. The difference wasn't willpower, it wasn't discipline, it wasn't how badly they wanted it. It was whether their nervous system felt safe enough to let go of survival. So here's something I explain often in practice. If your body has been in protection mode for years, it does not interpret change as help. It interprets change as risk, even good change. And that's why some people react to supplements that are supposed to be gentle. That's why detox feels overwhelming, and that's why doing all the right things can actually make symptoms louder. The body isn't sabotaging the process, it's guarding against uncertainty. And most healing failures happen right here before detox, before drainage, before protocols ever matter. Because readiness is a state, not a decision. You can decide you're ready. Your body still gets the final vote. And the body's vote is based on one question. Am I safe enough to reallocate energy away from survival? If the answer is no, the body tightens its grip. Digestion slows, detox pathways throttle down, symptoms become messengers. Not because something is wrong, but because the system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Protect first, adapt later. And that's why pushing harder so often backfires. Force teaches the body that it was right to stay guarded. And that's the moment people start thinking, maybe healing isn't possible for me. That belief is one of the most damaging things a person can carry, because the truth is far simpler and far more hopeful. Your body isn't broken. It isn't failing you. It just hasn't been shown safety yet. And that's what regulation is really about. Ready to protect itself more. So that's part of what happens when I'm coaching with new clients, because I'll find out, we'll figure it out pretty early on in a program if they're working with me. Sometimes part of the coaching is really talking that person's nervous system off the edge and letting them know, and I listen very carefully to what people are telling me, and I will pick up. I'm intuitive. I can hear things that most people aren't going to pick up on. And I believe I'm practicing with Holy Spirit. I believe I'll get nudges to ask people, hey, it's okay to let go of control sometimes. It's okay to take a step back and breathe. And that's part of what you get when you're working with me, as far as the coaching side of things. Because I've seen it enough. I have lived it myself. I know what it's like to operate in a state where the nervous system is super vigilant, always looking for the other shoe to drop, and never knowing when it can let its guard down. I lived a lifetime of that. Trust me when I tell you that. And for me, the first probably last couple months of last year and this year, I feel like I'm the most grounded I have ever been in my life, because I've finally worked through some of that stuff that was holding me back. And I'm in my body, I'm grounded, very focused, healthy, strong, in relationships, because I'm ready to be there. I'm ready to be myself. And that takes time. Okay? When your nervous system is in an always on status. All right. So before I go into the next segment, if you happen to be watching the show, throw hi in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. I'm streaming on 9 different locations this morning. Streaming on my Substack channel, my personal Facebook page, my business Facebook page, my LinkedIn. I have 2 X channels, personal and business. I'm on Rumble, of course, Instagram, YouTube. Any of those channels work. But say hi in the comments if you can. Tell me where you're watching from. So, what does regulation actually look like? Okay. When I talk about regulation, I want to be very clear about what I mean. Okay, because this word gets thrown around a lot. Regulation does not mean everything is fixed. Okay. It does not mean symptoms are gone. It does not mean the body is perfect. Regulation means the system can respond without panicking. It means the body can receive input without going straight into defense. And most people think healing starts with change. In reality, healing starts with stability. A regulated body is one that can shift gears. It can move from stress into rest, from effort into recovery, from reaction into response. And this is where a lot of well-meaning healing efforts break down. If the nervous system is stuck in vigilance, the body treats almost everything as a threat. Food becomes a trigger. Supplements become overwhelming. Detox becomes chaos, and not because those things are wrong, but because the system has no flexibility. Regulation is flexibility. Clinically, this is what I look for before I ever push forward. Can the nervous system downshift at all? Are bowel movements predictable? Does energy crash or does it taper? Does sleep restore or just knock someone out? These are not small details, they're readiness indicators. Because a regulated system doesn't mean there's no stress. It means stress no longer hijacks the entire system. And here's something most people don't realize: the body cannot prioritize healing while it is prioritizing survival. Healing requires surplus of energy, surplus of safety, surplus of capacity. If everything you do feels like it drains you, that's information. If rest doesn't feel restorative, that's information. If small changes create big reactions, that's information. The body is always communicating readiness. We just haven't been taught how to listen. Regulation often looks unglamorous. It looks like consistency instead of intensity. It looks like simplifying instead of stacking. It looks like stabilizing routines before challenging systems. And this is where people get uncomfortable, because regulation feels like slowing down, and slowing down feels like falling behind. How many have been there? But what I see over and over again is this: when regulation comes first, progress accelerates later. When regulation is skipped, people spin their wheels for years. A regulated body doesn't resist detox. It doesn't resist change. It doesn't resist healing. It allows it. And that's the difference between forcing a process and working with the body's natural order. This is why readiness isn't about mindset. It's about physiology. And once regulation is established, the question stops being, what should I do? It becomes, what is my body ready for now? And folks, that is a great place to be. Pardon that itch there in my ear. An itch. All right. If you're in the chat, say hi in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. It's kind of fun to see. All right. So, what are the signs that the body is not ready yet? Good question, right? Once you understand regulation, the next question becomes obvious. Okay. How do you know when the body isn't ready? Well, because readiness isn't something you guess at. The body shows you, quietly at first, loudly if it has to. That's where I say, if you're not listening to what your body is telling you, the universe will bench you. They'll take you off the field, make you sick, give you a health challenge where you can't function because it's trying to get your attention. But one of the clearest signs I see in practice is disproportionate reactions, where small interventions create big responses. Okay, a supplement that should feel supportive feels overwhelming. Here's one that came up this week with a client. A dietary change creates a cascade of stress instead of relief. That's not sensitivity. That's a system without buffer. Another sign is cycling. Okay, people get a burst of hope. They start something new, they crash. They stop, they recover just enough to try again, over and over. That pattern isn't a lack of discipline. It's a body repeatedly saying, this is too much right now. Sleep is another major indicator. When the body isn't ready, sleep doesn't restore. It knocks you out or keeps you wired. When you wake up tired, even after even after enough hours of sleep, that tells me the nervous system never truly stood down. Okay. Digestion also tells the story. Erratic bowels, food reactions that don't make sense, bloating, urgency, or shutdown with stress. The gut is one of the first symptoms to reflect readiness. because it sits at the intersection of survival and recovery. Emotionally, readiness shows up in subtle ways too. I see people who are doing all the right things, but they're exhausted by the process. They're vigilant. They're tracking everything. They're afraid to miss a step. Healing starts to feel like a full time job. That's not alignment, that's compensation. And the body knows the difference. Okay. Here's something important I want people to hear. If your system flares easily, it doesn't mean you're fragile, it means your margin is narrow. And margin can be rebuilt. Readiness isn't about toughness, it's about capacity. The goal isn't to push you until you break through. The goal is to build enough stability that you don't have to brace for impact anymore. When the body is not ready, it uses symptoms to slow the process down, not to punish you, not to sabotage you, but to protect you. That's why forcing the next step often creates more resistance, not less. And the mistake most people make is trying to override these signals instead of interpreting them. They assume, I just need to push through, or I just need to detox harder, or I just need to commit more. Well, the body doesn't respond to pressure. Okay, it responds to safety. And when safety is restored, readiness follows naturally. Okay, so I have an aside on that too, because a lot of what feeds into the readiness is the emotions of the body. Okay, our emotional state, our mental state, and boys, speaking from experience, things can get really worked up and wrapped tight in the system. Old echoes of traumas and old emotions stored in the body. I talk about all of those with people, but let's talk about the emotional readiness in the body. Okay, there's really what I consider one more layer of readiness that often goes unspoken, and that is the emotional layer. Because the body doesn't just store stress chemically, it stores it emotionally. And I've seen people whose bodies weren't ready to heal, not because they lacked nutrients or drainage, but because letting go would mean feeling something they weren't prepared to feel yet. So, grief that never had space, okay? Anger that was swallowed to survive, fear that became background noise. I've been through all of those myself. For some people, symptoms are the last line of protection. And if the body finally relaxes, those emotions come closer to the surface. They do. And readiness, emotionally, is about whether the system feels safe enough to experience that without becoming overwhelmed. And this is why some people flare when things start to improve, not because the healing is wrong, but because the guardrails are coming down. The nervous system doesn't separate physical safety from emotional safety. Let me say that again. The nervous system doesn't separate physical safety from emotional safety. To the body, it's the same conversation. So when I talk about readiness, I'm not just listening to digestion or energy. I'm listening for emotional resilience. Can the system feel without flooding? Can it release without collapsing? Can it soften without losing its footing? That's not weakness, that's wisdom. And when emotional readiness is respected, the body doesn't fight healing, it cooperates with it. Okay? I can think of many clients over the years that have been wrapped so tight in their sphere of control that just to invite them to let a little tension out of that grip of control would push them over. and they would want to stop. I say, no, don't stop. Let's just talk through this. Okay. I will get down in that pit of ugly with anybody to help them explore that. Because sometimes when we start a healing journey, some people don't realize that they are holding on to aspects of their life with a death grip. And that it's really okay to look at those and try to understand why you're holding on so tight, and then move through that, and we can move through it and out of it and climb out of the pit. It sounds easier than it is sometimes, but it is worthwhile work to do that. And I don't want to suggest that I'm a counselor. I'm not counseling people in that regard. In fact, over the years, I have referred many people to talk therapy because they need more help than I'm able to provide, and that's out of my scope. Okay, but trapped emotions in the body is not out of the scope, and I will help people try to release those and at least give them tools and techniques on how to do it in a healthy way. So, what is supporting? What does supporting readiness actually look like? Okay. Well, once people recognize that their body isn't ready yet, the next fear usually shows up. So, what do I do? Just wait? And the answer is no. Readiness isn't something you sit around hoping for, it's something you build. But it's built very differently than most people expect. Supporting readiness does not mean doing more. Most of the time, it means doing less, but doing it with intention. Okay? The first thing I focus on is predictability. The nervous system calms when life becomes more predictable. And this is stuff I work on with people all the time. Regular meals, consistent sleep and wake times, simple routines that the body can trust. They're not perfect routines, but reliable ones. Next is reducing signal overload. A body that's already stressed doesn't need more input. It needs fewer variables. That's why stacking supplements, constantly changing diets, or chasing the newest protocol often backfires. The body can't orient itself when the ground keeps shifting. Supporting readiness often means simplifying until the system can exhale. And this is why when I'm working with clients, I start all of my new clients in a phase one, which is 3 months of working with me in phase one, where we meet weekly, whether in person or telehealth. Okay. Because we need to stay in line with what your body is moving through and let it know that the changes we're making are not going to be sudden changes. We're going to go at the pace the body is able to handle. Supporting readiness often means simplifying until the system can exhale. Then there's parasympathetic support. This is where healing actually happens. Not in the push, not in the grind, but in the downshift. Breathing, gentle movement, time outdoors. Sorry for the pause there. My dog is getting really excited and I don't see anything going on outside. Time outdoors, speaking of being outside. Moments where the body is not being asked to perform. Okay? These are not extras, they are prerequisites. And another key piece is capacity before challenge. You can't ask a system to detox if it can't eliminate. You don't push metabolism if energy is already depleted. You don't demand healing from a body that's still scanning for danger. Readiness support is about expanding capacity slowly, safely, and consistently. And here's something that surprises people. Readiness work often feels boring. There's no dramatic flair, no intense reaction, no sense of doing something big. But that calm is not stagnation, it's stabilization. This is where people are tempted to quit because it doesn't feel like progress. But clinically, this is where progress actually begins. I often tell clients if it feels uneventful, we're probably doing it right. Because the body doesn't heal in chaos, it heals in order. And once readiness is built, detox no longer feels like a battle, it feels like a release. Say hi in the chat. If you're just joining the show, let us know where you're watching from. Appreciate it in the comments. All right. Once people, let's talk about what happens if we force the timeline and why that backfires. Okay. Once people understand readiness, a deeper question usually comes up. Why do I keep pushing anyway? Because almost no one is rushing healing for no reason. Most people are rushing because they're scared. They're afraid of being stuck. They're afraid this is as good as it gets. They're afraid that if they slow down, they'll fall even further behind. And that fear quietly drives the process. So we live in a culture that rewards urgency. Fix it fast, hack it, optimize it, power through. That mindset works in business. It does not work in biology. The nervous system does not respond to deadlines. It responds to perceived safety. When someone forces a healing timeline, the body doesn't speed up, it tightens, muscles brace, digestion constricts, detox pathways downshift. Not because the body is stubborn, but because pressure signals danger. Here's something I see often. People compare their healing journey to someone else's. They hear a story where detox worked fast. They read a protocol that promised results in weeks. They wonder why their body didn't respond the same way. And that comparison erodes readiness. It tells the body it's failing. It reinforces vigilance. It increases internal pressure. And pressure is the opposite of safety. Another driver is identity. Many people are used to pushing. They've built their life on discipline and grit. So when healing asks for patience and restraint, it feels like giving up control. But regulation isn't passive. It's a different kind of strength. It's the strength to stop fighting the body and start cooperating with it. And when someone forces the process, they often mistake intensity for progress. Strong reactions feel like something is happening. Calm feels like nothing is happening. But intensity doesn't equal effectiveness. The body heals quietly, subtly, incrementally. And when people ignore that, they often end up creating setbacks that reinforce the belief that healing is fragile or unreliable. The truth is simpler, really. You can't bully a nervous system into healing. You can't shame it into readiness. You can't outwork survival patterns. The fastest way forward is often the most respectful one. When pressure is removed, the body stops bracing. When comparison ends, the body stops performing. And when the timeline loosens, readiness has room to emerge. So a lot of what I'm talking about, let me just do a quick screen share here. A lot of what I'm talking about today is exactly why I wrote my book. Okay. And the picture of the book is on the screen up there. And I've got a picture here in my hands. Can't see it right now when the screen is so small. But the Consumer's Guide to Holistic Healing with Quantum Nutrition Testing. Okay. People are overwhelmed. They're confused, often doing the right things in the wrong order. Okay. The book isn't a protocol manual, it's a mindset reset. It teaches you how to think about healing so you stop working against your body. It's going to give you a little bit of history in there on why our food system is the way it is, to help us understand. We've got to kind of go back to the basics, and it's going to help you understand how we got to where we're at today. And then it explains how I use quantum nutrition testing and what that is to help people leverage out. Okay. And so if you're not ready to work with me yet, the book gives you a way to start becoming an informed participant in your own health instead of a passive consumer. There's a chapter in there on how to talk to your doctor, okay, of all things. So really, if today's conversation resonated, my book is available now. You can scan the QR code there on the screen with your phone. Open the camera on your phone and just put the camera over that spot. And you can order the book on Amazon. Okay. You can search Amazon, Dr. Jeff Evenson, or by the title, of course. But it walks you through how holistic healing actually works, clears up myths around quantum nutrition testing, and helps you understand what your body is asking for before you ever start a protocol. Okay. There's other QR codes on there you can see. Last week I talked about the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. If you want more information on that or to get started on it, scan that QR code. Or up here, if you're ready, you want to schedule a full assessment with me. That's where everybody starts at a full assessment. You can at least get the information about what's going on. I look at your whole health history. We talk about what's going on. I do the quantum nutrition testing assessment on you. And then in that full assessment, it covers 2 visits. The first visit is the assessment, where we talk about your health history, as I said, where I quantum nutrition test you, and then I take all that information and look at all the reports that are all the forms that you filled out before you came, and I write up a report of findings, and that is delivered to you on the second appointment. Okay, usually within a couple days of the first appointment. And that is all included. Those 2 appointments are included in that price. Okay. We've got the special running right now. Use the code READY199 when you scan this QR code, or you can go to my website, evensonholistic.com. Okay. And let's go there. Let's see here. Make sure I got the right one. Or you can go to the website. Hello. Interesting. Maybe my website is down. All right. Well, at any rate, on my on the homepage at evensonholistic.com is the button right in the middle of the page. Okay. I'll keep an eye on that, and if it comes up, I'll switch it over. Here it comes. Boy, it's just taking slow. And I don't think it could be because I'm streaming from here during the show, but usually it would come right up. Anyway, here's the book. Here's the full assessment. Scan that QR code. Or if you want more, get started on the Wake Up Warrior Challenge for personal growth. Start there. I love that. And then I'll go back to that here. All right. So I appreciate it. But here's the book. It's I've been told it. A lot of people. I've gotten good feedback on it. You know, um, on what's in there, but you can find it out there on Amazon. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. I've got another segment. We're almost done. Um, why I don't guess where to start. Okay. After everything we've talked about today, this becomes clear. This is why guessing where to start doesn't work. I don't guess because guessing skips readiness. Guessing ignores regulation. Guessing assumes the body is the same as everyone else's, and it never is. In my practice, I don't chase symptoms. I don't stack protocols. I don't force timelines. I listen for order. Every body has a sequence, every system has priorities. And when those priorities are respected, healing becomes cooperative instead of combative. This is why two people can take the same supplement and have completely different responses. Okay. And I use quantum nutrition testing to determine all of that. I never guess what a protocol should be for people. I always use and rely on the muscle testing or quantum nutrition testing. Okay. And I can do that in person or remote, telehealth. One body is ready, the other is not. It's not about willpower and it's not about discipline. It's about timing. My role isn't to detox you. It's not to override your system. It's to help your body feel safe enough to do what it already knows how to do. And when readiness is established, drainage opens. Detox becomes tolerable. Progress becomes steady instead of chaotic. Okay? And this is why assessment matters. Not so I can tell you what to take, but so I can understand where your body is in its own process. And when order is restored, healing stops feeling like a fight. It starts to feel like relief. And if you tried to force healing before and it backfired, that doesn't mean you failed. It means your body was asking for a different starting point. And when that starting point is honored, everything downstream changes. So, if there's one thing I want you to take I want you to take with you from today, it's this. Okay? Your body is not behind. It's not broken, and it's not refusing to heal. It's been protecting you. Healing doesn't begin when you push harder. It begins when the body feels safe enough to stop guarding. Readiness is not a flaw. Regulation is not delay. They are wisdom. So when you honor the order the body is asking for, healing stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a return. I can't count the number of times I've had people tell me they finally start feeling like themselves again. One client years ago had told me, I called her up after a couple of days and she had been crying. And it's like, she told me, this is the first time I've felt like myself in over 7 years. That's powerful. That's what keeps me going in this work. That's the kind of impact my own practitioner had, gosh, back in 2007 when I first met her and started uh, a program with her. Okay. And if your body has been saying not yet, trust that it's also holding the moment when it will say now. Until then, be patient with the process. There's nothing wasted in learning how to listen. At a minimum, please consider starting with the quantum nutrition full assessment. If you've kicked off this new year and you're searching, you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? Like you've heard me say on other shows earlier this year, I don't put a lot of stock in New Year's resolutions, okay? But I do put a lot of stock in helping people realize it can be different. And sometimes people just don't know how or where to start. So my invitation to you is start with a Q&T full assessment. And there's the barcode again, right here, up here, full assessment. At the very least, maybe order the book and read it and see what quantum nutrition testing is all about. And go to my website, Evenson Holistic. It normally works. I'm not sure what the deal is here. Have to look at the host. Okay. All right. I really appreciate you guys listening and tuning in today, but let's close with a prayer. Okay. Father God, we thank you for the wisdom you placed within the body. We thank you that healing is not something we have to force, but something that unfolds when your design is honored. For those who feel tired, stuck, or discouraged, I ask that you bring peace to their nervous system and reassurance to their hearts. Help them trust the timing of their healing. Help them release the pressure to rush and the fear of being behind. Where the body has been protecting, bring safety. Where emotions have been held for survival, bring gentle strength to release them in your time. Teach us how to listen. Teach us how to rest. Teach us how to cooperate with the order you created. And may every step toward healing be rooted in trust, not fear. We place this process in our bodies back into your hands. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. One last time on the QR codes. Folks, I know I didn't look at my schedule this morning for next week, but I know I have available times for new clients. And that list will fill up quickly. So if you're thinking about it, at least get it scheduled. Get the information, and on the report of findings visit, when I go over the report, I can tell you in the report, I tell you what I found, what my recommendations are, how my program works, and what it costs. And at that time, you can decide, hey, Jeff, let's get forward. Let's do this. Let's move forward on it. Or no, thanks for the information. Have a nice day. Okay. But at least you have the information at that point, and you can decide what to do. So I'm a low pressure sales. I typically work with people who are ready to get their health back online. Okay. If you're not ready, then don't do the assessment. If you don't think you're ready, don't do it. But if you think there's a chance that you're going to like the information and you want to start a program, then let's do it. I work with people who are ready. They are exhausted. They are done with being chronically challenged with their health. And you know what I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. Okay? We don't fake it till you make it here. We work and get actual results. So that's what I know. I look forward to seeing you on the schedule. Let's have a great week. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's have a great week. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you later.